Soup.
Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Nerd Soup. I am Beau Oliver, joined here today with Aaron the Nerd Soup Monkey, and we are here to review Battlestar Galactica, the reimagined series going back to 2004. And before we get into this review, I want to shout out our patron, Aaron, for suggesting this review. It was a great suggestion. Like I mentioned at the end of our last Patreon review, it ended up becoming one of my favorite shows of all time. Going into the series, I didn't know how I was going to feel about it. I'm a fan of shows that are similar to this, like Star Trek, the original Star Trek, Next Generation, even The Expanse. I should have known that I was going to love it. So I think after about episode 3, when the politics get rolling, when you start to get a feel of what's actually happening, I was totally lost, and I burned through this first season, and I could see why it is so legendary, why so many people still hold it in this high regard. So I really enjoyed it. And we can end it there.
Yeah, wow, that was good.
Yeah,
you pretty much summed up everything.
Anticlimactic. Now you can shoot me in the stomach.
No, I really enjoyed it too. Definitely like just the political structure on board this ship, and obviously with all the circumstances surrounding what they're doing and why they're doing it, I found very intriguing. It's still like, I don't know, for 2004, it's not as dated as like I thought it would be.
No, it's not.
Obviously, some of the CGI isn't up to today's standards. For a television show back then, I mean, I don't say it was terrible. It never really took me out of it, but all the practical stuff I really thought was done very well. And just the structure and the characters of the show I found very intriguing. I think there was just a lot of layers to the story and the situation and how they handled what's going on, the personal relationships, I found to be very, very well done. And like, it really kicks off with a bang. I thought that whole first episode with the 33 minutes thing was very like suspenseful and like just sucked me in right away.
Yeah, the idea of, Dr. Baltar keeps falling asleep and then he's woken up every time they do the jump. And going into it without watching the miniseries, I think that was almost a better approach because it adds this sort of surreal quality to it where you don't know all the answers, you don't know exactly what's going on, and then you get these bits of information. But like you said, it does start off with a bang. So going back and forth between the jumps and his hallucinations, that was, like you said, it was riveting at times. And the enemy, you barely see them, but you fear them because of what they have to go through. They've been awake for 5, 6, 7 days. I don't even know how that's humanly possible. Teddy would have been, like we joked on the podcast, he would have screwed this whole team over.
Little cat naps in between. And I do wonder if Rian Johnson drew any inspiration for The Last Jedi. Because it is a little similar in that way, where they're following through their jumps and then attacking, and like obviously this is more drawn out, and it's been happening and happening and happening, where that's kind of more of an isolated incident, but the kind of basis around it is kind of similar.
Yeah, I remember when The Last Jedi came out, people were critical of the movie because of that, because of the influences of Battlestar Galactica. But, one aspect of this show that I really did enjoy, they're having this struggle of having to escape from the Cylons. And Commander Adama is telling everyone they're looking for Earth, even though he truly doesn't know where it is. And he's challenged by the President Roslin character, who's having these religious epiphanies. She's having visions. She's tuned into these sacred texts that talk about the Lord of Kobol, and the dying leader will lead them to the promised land. So it added this mystic quality to it, even though it was a sci-fi show. And I think I really do love when writers combine the two, where it's, yes, this is a world that exists with scientific rules and they must be followed, even though everything's not so scientifically accurate here. But there's also a little spiritual aspect here, and it adds some surrealist elements to the show.
Yeah, definitely. I think especially...
Which I'm a sucker for.
Yeah, especially like Rosalind, those... those flashes and visions she was having, I felt to be very unsettling. And
right, and well, just to get to one critique I have of the show, at times the actors aren't great.
No.
I think Rosalind was a great character, but the actress who plays her, Mary McDonnell, it felt like she struggled at times when they pushed her. Mm-hmm. When she's having some of those visions and she's supposed to be having panic attacks, I thought this is a person acting.
No, yeah, I did think some of the acting was a little clunky. I think most notably, I didn't realize it until the end, number 6. That's her name, right? Number 6?
Yeah, that's her name, okay. Right. Well, you didn't think she was good? You were distracted by something, maybe?
I don't know what it was, but like towards the end, I was like, oh, yeah. I'm like, oh, she has a name.
I don't think Baltar knows her name either.
Yeah, I told myself I wasn't gonna just talk about number 6 the whole time, but come on.
But you didn't think she was that great
Good
of
Lord.
an actress? You know what she was good at? She was good at being seductive.
Yes, no, she was, but I think like at some of the lines when, especially when she plays the, she plays like the human version of the Cylon, and some of the times when we see her on Caprica, like I felt like she wasn't as strong as she was when she's trying to manipulate Gaius. Like I thought she was really good in those moments.
Right.
But like I think even with Apollo, I feel like at times you can tell the performances are strong in some aspects, and then others they kind of falter. But it does still have that like network television feeling, which I don't mind. That bit of like goofy or campiness at times, and it kind of really is of its time. And I kind of enjoyed some of those aspects. I did think like another negative I had was, I felt it got a little clunky at the end, where some of the storylines with Rosalind having these visions and this kind of sense of almost prophecy versus
like destiny almost
versus Adama. I felt like that kind of got messy in terms of storytelling, and like it wasn't too convincing towards the end.
Well, before he got shot, I thought to myself, because I can watch it, I can go straight into season 2. I don't mind this. But for the time, it feels anticlimactic. Mm-hmm. Like things get rushed. Rosin gets thrown in the brig. Adama's now in charge. And, you know, you want to see naturally what happens next. Mm-hmm. And then he gets fucking popped by Boomer, who I thought she had a very great season as sort of this subplot getting into the whole philosophy of being conscious as a human or a Cylon, not knowing who you actually are because the Cylons replace them. And once again, not watching the miniseries, going back and watching it after was almost better for me because you're so confused as to how Gaius met number 6. How did she get in there? You know, how is she manipulating him? How is this even possible? What is the true power of these Cylons? And the same thing with Boomer, you know, where you're basically seeing 2 different versions of her at 2 different times. So that was a bit of a mindfuck.
Yeah, the way that came together at the end, I wasn't really, for some reason, I just assumed that was taking place before the events that we're seeing. And it was a backstory. So
yeah, at times I thought so too. But
when they do meet up with Starbuck at the end, I was kind of like, oh, I like the way that all came together.
Yeah.
And I do like, as much as I thought the ending towards the end of the season was a bit clunky, I really enjoyed that stuff.
For a long time, I wasn't so thrilled what was happening on Caprica. Like I said, I was interested in the 2 different Boomers, and obviously that scene when she meets all of them was really freaky. But their relationship wasn't so great. And that he's just there really to run around and to be manipulated. Mm-hmm. You know what I really appreciate about these sci-fi shows is that they're unafraid of sex. They're unafraid of violence. They're mature, even though this show does have that sort of goofy TV quality. And they're all saying, frack you.
That got annoying.
I think it's great, actually. That tickles my nerd brain. But, you know, these shows like this that are always deemed, oh, it's too nerdy, I can't really get into it, they're the ones that always embrace mature themes that certain projects won't, even R-rated projects. So that's something that I really appreciated. And, you know, some of the humor really does land, like when they're all freaking out about the Cylon testing, and they have that humorous moment where Adama's like, you were testing me, I was testing her, what the hell is going on here? He was probably my biggest standout. That, to me, I mean, it's a character we've seen before, the old grizzled war veteran who speaks in a whisper and commands so much respect, and he's all about the job and duty. I also found him to be the best actor, because this is a guy, Edward James Olmos, who has a history with films. Obviously, he's got the supporting role in Blade Runner. And when he's challenged...
He was nominated, right, for an Academy Award.
So when he's challenged to go to some of these places where his character has to be a bit more emotional, a bit more forceful, and really get into his acting bag, he delivers.
Yeah.
I thought he delivered time and time again, and I thought he was a great grandfatherly presence to all of these characters. And I was fascinated by the relationship that he had with Starbuck, more so than even with Lee. I thought the Starbuck Commander Adama relationship may have been the strongest part of the show.
Yeah, and definitely getting into the backstory of, like, their past and kind of how they view each other, and especially when he's like giving the information about what happened to his son and kind of causing that break. I thought those were very emotional moments that I think both actors really delivered on. But yeah, I like all the inner workings and the characters. The more you get to know about them, the situation, the past, it really helped bring the story together. Maybe it was a little bit too, I feel like they're a little bit too soapy sometimes for just dramatic sake, and I guess that might just be a way of drawing viewers in and keeping them invested week after week. But yeah, I feel like at times, it just felt like a little soapy. But there
was some soap.
Yeah, but I do. Like, part of me likes a little soap.
For the most part, yeah, I really didn't mind it because I thought there were way more legitimate dramatic moments than the ones they're really playing on your feelings there. Like all the stuff between Adama and Starbuck felt very genuine. Adama saying, hey, we have a mission to go out there and do. After he finds out what Starbuck, when Starbuck confesses what actually happened with his son, he says, hey, go do your mission, but I also want to kill you. And then they make up because obviously Starbuck's in danger and she shows her abilities as a pilot that she's able to hack into the Cylon machinery. And those are the aspects that really got me excited for seasons 2 and 3 and 4 is how all of these characters are going to play their roles. Starbuck may actually be my favorite character of season 1 because of what she goes through. I think she has the most development out of any of these characters. The moments between her and Leoben, the Cylon that she interrogates, were some of the best scenes of the series.
No, that was actually very, very good.
That's where it gets dark and gritty. And, the post 9/11 politics are very explicit throughout this series, but that's where it really gets into how far the military is willing to go, how they're able to dehumanize people in order to get some sort of information or to win this battle that they feel is righteous. So you see a character who's been built up as a hero go that dark route and gets challenged by, that actor who played Leoben may have been the best actor of the whole season. He was terrific.
He and Zarek really captured the moments they were on screen.
Oh, yeah. Zarek's got that look in his eyes where you never know what that man's planning.
And, even with that character and, his ideals and kind of how you see some of the officers are kind of split on whether he's right or he's wrong and kind of how to view the situation. I felt that was actually very interesting and well played out because and just gives more history of what's going on, and I think it's a testament to I guess the current political structure, which I also found very fascinating on these basically ship colonies and how they're trying to hold on to as much structure as they had in place when they during peace times and kind of transferring it over to their current situation, and not everything works out. I kind of like how they had press. Yeah,
they have 2 journalists that have made it off of Earth.
Lawyers and stuff, and I found that interesting. I wish we got a little bit more into the civilian vessels and kind of their life and what's going on with them, but...
Yeah, maybe that would be something they do tackle in further seasons, because I was interested in that as well. It is from the perspective of the military and the president. When Ty says, civilians get up in arms when they can't take their one hot shower a day, and I thought to myself, I do love those hot showers, man. I'd be with the picket sign rioting. And I want to shout out the actor who played Tom Zarek. He actually died a few years back, Richard Hatch. So he's got such a familiar face. You see him and you're like, what have I seen him in before? But yeah, no, getting that perspective of the character who, like you said, they're so split on him. Half think he's a terrorist, half think that he's someone who can be a leader that will look out for the underprivileged. So he's got this populist motives to him, but you can kind of see, like all great politicians, no matter what they say, no matter what they talk about, there's always ego there. There's always, how can this serve me? So out of all the people who died, billions, he's the one that survives, right? They must have been like, what the fuck? Of course, the most charismatic terrorist who's ever lived is on the prison ship. And he's going to be here causing a ruckus. I thought that was a great episode, too. You see Apollo really having to earn his stripes there, prove that he can handle this situation, and he does. And he's a character, once again, where he turns on his father in the end because he feels like he needs to stand up for democracy.
Their take on kind of wartime politics and wartime power. I thought it was pretty fascinating. And I kind of like the story structure. I feel like each episode was very contained while still building off of each other.
Oh, yeah. It felt serial, but the problems inching towards solutions in each episode.
But it seems like every main problem that they had in each episode was mostly wrapped up.
Right.
I think the only really storyline was the one on Caprica.
Yeah, that is true.
So there are many different ways to tell stories in a series. You have just episode by episode or just through lines throughout the season. This was kind of a mix of both.
Right, yeah, and it's reminiscent of Star Trek, where you're on the ship and each episode there's a new problem we have to solve. There was a lot of unity when it came to the problem solving, but it's such a dire situation, there's obviously going to be splits. So while the president and Adama are on the same page, at the end they do have that explosive difference of opinion when it comes to how these missions should be undertaken. From Adama's perspective, the president does sound completely insane. I would have the same reaction.
No, yeah, she's batshit.
But, the arrow, it seems like it does exist because Starbuck does find it at the end. And Rosalind, she's an interesting character because she begins as the Secretary of Education, 43rd in line, and she becomes the president. She's not the best at it, but she shows a willingness to learn. So she puts important people in her circle. And then by the end, she's able to play the game a bit here by convincing Starbuck to go off and on this mission, on this rogue mission. And also the move where she realizes the popularity of Gaius Baltar and she makes him her VP. I don't know if that's going to be a great choice moving forward, because that man is just holding it together with a shoestring. I think the way they filmed him, where he's looking off into the distance and he's looking at number 6 and other characters look at him.
To be fair.
And he's just staring into the distance. I thought that was so funny every time.
Yeah, at first I'm like, how can, someone turn their back on humanity? Then I got it real fast. I understood pretty quickly.
Yes, he is just uncontrollably, unforgivably horny.
What's so wrong with that?
He may be the horniest character on television. And he was very good at portraying that.
Yes.
Yeah, you could just feel the horniness radiating off of that man. Get him a cold shower. God, cool yourself off.
Yeah, but...
I love how that's going to be your excuse for everything we say about this character. He lies to Boomer. He keeps the information to himself. He basically convinces her to try and kill herself.
No, he's working for the Cylons.
He's straight up working for the Cylons.
Counterpoint.
Right.
No, but yeah, I think that was very interesting. I think one of my favorite parts was when he when he's being accused of working with the Cylons, and he goes to speak to number 6, and she's actually there. I found that to be that was very good.
That freaked me out.
Yeah.
Because they're all saying, no, we can see her. She's right there. She's accusing you.
But it's the whole thing of he's very much unreliable when it comes to his storyline.
Right.
Even things with knowing if Erin is actually a Cylon. That's her name, right? Even the whole thing with Ellen, whether she's a Cylon or with Boomer and the test, and you don't know what his true motivations are, or if anything he says or anything he sees is true or not. Is it a hallucination? Is she actually implanted in his mind? I think there's a level of uncertainty there that keeps you intrigued as a viewer.
Ellen fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Ty, her husband, Saul, I like him. I always like the grumpy exo.
Mm-hmm.
He keeps everybody in check, Adama's good cop, he's bad cop. He's got that little rivalry going with Starbuck. No, she shows up, and that was another clever thing I thought the show did, where they set her up to be a Cylon.
Mm-hmm.
So every instinct was telling me, don't trust this character. She's obviously not real. And no, it turns out she's just a piece of shit. Just sexually assaulting Apollo, flirting with people right in front of her husband, saying, oh, I'm working them. It's all about the image, baby. But I want to circle back to something that's totally off topic. You mentioned that they're trying so hard to keep civilization alive, and I always thought that the population count always disturbed me. It's just looking over your shoulder that this could be it at any moment. And there were so many moments throughout this season where if a plan failed, if they didn't achieve it, that would be it. So the pressure of that, I think you really feel it through the characters and through what they're going through. Some of the missions, like the mission where Apollo is able to destroy the Cylon base and, they have the moment with the lighter. I thought that was very sentimental. That got me a bit choked up. And I think a lot of it goes to Papa Adama being such a good actor. And even Starbuck, like I said, her having these hero moments where she's able to show off her skills. She's able to win back Adama on her side. As soon as she goes missing, he wants to save her. So those characters to me, I keep saying it, I want to see where their journeys go and lead to. How are they going to pull this off? And the whole idea of them trying to find Earth, that it's
not that great. Just stay where you are.
Right. Yeah. They come here, it's 2020. They're like, you know what? Let's go back to Caprica. Maybe Cylon death is not so bad. But what's the history here? What are we missing? What are the pieces that they're going to put together where they paint a clearer picture of, was Earth the origin or Earth's now the destination? It's cool.
Yeah. And we talked about like how like the influence of religion on the characters and the different perspectives on religion. You know, you have them reference the gods, where the Cylons talk about the one god, and kind of, you know, I felt like it's an interesting wrinkle, especially when you're dealing with AI, to believe in a higher power. And, you know, just talking and through that conversation with Starbuck and the Cylon, just things about like how, you know, is that programming, or like you're just programmed to believe to kind of make it easier for you so you don't fear death, and what happens to their minds and their consciousness when they do die? Does it get transferred back, and how that all works? So I found like things like that sprinkled throughout the season gave some more perspective on the two sides and certain characters.
Oh yeah, the philosophy was great there. It was straight out of Westworld. Like you said, she makes the point that my information can't be transferred. That's it for me. Mm-hmm. So the fragility of life, does that make humans more special than the Cylons? But we see the Cylons can also be killed if you kill them the right way.
Even with fake Boomer, Boomer, when she's talking about like how she has feelings, and he's like, no, you're a machine. But it's like, well, programmed or not, like feelings are feelings.
Right, yeah.
You can argue that humans are programmed.
Yeah. Right, if I pinch you and you go, ow, it's, oh, look at that. Free thinker, huh? Free thinkers when the Macarena comes on. I'm not programmed.
Humans think they're free thinkers until they get a boo-boo.
Yeah, until they get a boo-boo. Yeah, no, all of that stuff was really great. And the way that, once again, the post-9/11 politics, the way that religion can be used for good and evil. And we've seen this before, but it's really how religion can be used to manipulate people. Mm-hmm. To make them believe that they are doing the right thing, the righteous thing, because it's God telling them that. And yeah, you know, the difference between the Cylons believing in the one God and believing that it's a God that created them and humanity it's definitely different, because normally it's humanity who's more so with the one gods, and AIs are like, I'm God. So it's a different approach there. I wonder if there's like an element of determinism, where because they are these not superior beings, but they seem to be tapped into technology in ways that humans aren't. So maybe they see time differently. It's sort of like the ancient texts, the sacred texts. Maybe they were written by a Cylon or an AI or someone who is able to see time in a non-linear fashion. But yeah, all that stuff, it keeps me on the edge of my seat in terms of mentally. You know, it gets my neurons firing.
No, I think there was a sense of that, and kind of little hints to that, especially when they talk about like
time being a circle.
Yeah, where they are and how it's destined to repeat themselves, and they're playing parts of a story. So there are very much elements of determinism. Even certain humans view what's going on here. You know, destiny and kind of playing your part and kind of it all being predetermined. So
it's so fun to imagine myself on that ship as Adama. That is my dream, to be that commander, 60, 65, gray in the hair. Everyone respects me. I'm making decisions. Man, he goes full authoritarian at the end there, you know? But is it justified?
You want all that?
Yeah, I want that pressure.
That's weird.
I would crack immediately. Yeah, no, they would have, by hour 18, after those 30-minute jumps, we would have been dead.
Yeah, you'll be Adama commanding the ship. I'll be the civilian complaining about not getting a hot shower.
And Teddy can be my XO. Nash can be Baltar, obviously. Watching this, I didn't expect to love it as much as I did. But yeah, like you said, it's got a lot of the mid-2000s flavor to it. I felt so much nostalgia watching it, because I don't watch a lot of television from the mid-2000s anymore. So it felt like I was in a time capsule almost. But this was great, from the characters, from the storylines, the effects, even though they're a little dated, but I think for the time, for television, it really was just a solid sci-fi production, and I can only imagine that it gets better. Definitely,
and you can definitely you can see why, people would be drawn to it and kind of have like this cult following of fans, maybe not as popular as a Star Trek or Star Wars, but you could definitely see there's something there for why people would latch on and still hold, and kind of have this kind of cult-like fandom.
Right, and maybe we'll join that cult. Been looking for a good cult. Alright guys, that does it for this review. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you again to Aaron for suggesting this show for us to review. I think it's a show that we really grew to love as the season unfolded, and can't wait to watch the subsequent seasons. And we will be back with our next Patreon review, which will be Batman v Superman, one of the most beloved DC movies of all time, not divisive or polarizing at all, so that should just be a fun, nice little revisited talk about all the things we love and some of the things we didn't. Can't wait for that, and we will see you guys next time.
Damn, we were making some good points in that video. Hey guys, Aaron and Nerd Suit Monkey here. Before we end this video, I want to give a quick shout out to our Patreon supporters. What can I say about you guys that I haven't already said about myself? You are the most important part of the channel and the main reason we keep going strong. Like Beau says, you keep the lights on in the fridge so the fridge is full. Or something like that. So, from everyone here at Nerd Soup, I'd like to thank you guys for your continued support. If you're interested in joining the ranks of our patron supporters, head over to patreon.com/nerdsoup and check out the rewards we offer to our patrons. We recently dropped some new stickers for you guys to check out, or you could choose a tier that will allow you to select a movie, show, or video game for us to review. We've got a full slate of fan-suggested reviews coming your way, and we're really excited about the chance to review some of those movies and shows. We've also got t-shirts, mugs, behind-the-scenes videos showing how we bring our videos to life. And once again, thank you to all our Patreon pledgers who have been supporting us throughout the years. Without you, we wouldn't be able to convert all your pledges into cryptocurrency, so thank you from my future self for making us rich.